Our Brain is Actually Empty Part 2. For the past 2,000 years of human history, 6 different metaphors people have employed to try to explain human intelligence, according to artificial intelligence expert George Zarkadakis.
In the earliest one, eventually preserved in the Bible, humans were formed from clay or dirt, which an intelligent God then infused with its spirit. That spirit explained our intelligence grammatically, at least. The invention of hydraulic engineering in the 3rd century BCE led to the popularity of a hydraulic model of human intelligence, the idea that the flow of different fluids in the body, the humors, accounted for both our physical and mental functioning.
The hydraulic metaphor persisted for more than 1,600 years, handicapping medical practice all the while. Then by the 1500s, automata powered by springs and gears had been devised, eventually inspiring leading thinkers such as René Descartes to assert that humans are complex machines. In the 1600s, the British philosopher Thomas Hobbes suggested that thinking arose from small mechanical motions in the brain. By the 1700s, discoveries about electricity and chemistry led to new theories of human intelligence, again, largely metaphorical in nature. In the mid-1800s, inspired by recent advances in communications, the German physicist Hermann von Helmholtz compared the brain to a telegraph. Each of these metaphors reflected the most advanced thinking of the era that spawned it. And so predictably, just a few years after the dawn of computer technology in the 1940s, the brain was said to operate like a computer, with the role of physical hardware played by the brain itself and our thoughts serving as software. The landmark event was the publication of Language and Communication in 1951 by the psychologist George Miller, that launched what is now broadly called cognitive science. In his paper, Miller proposed that the mental world could be studied rigorously using concepts from information theory, computation and linguistics. Shortly followed by mathematician John von Neumann in 1958, in the short book The Computer and the Brain, Neumann stated flatly that the function of the human nervous system is prima facie digital. Although Neumann acknowledged that little was actually known about the role the brain played in human reasoning and memory, he drew parallel after parallel between the components of the computing machines of the day and the components of the human brain. Propelled by subsequent advances in computer technology and brain research, an ambitious multidisciplinary effort to understand human intelligence gradually developed, firmly rooted in the idea that humans are, like computers, information processors. These efforts now involve thousands of researchers, consume billions of dollars in funding, and have generated a vast literature consisting of both technical and mainstream articles and books. Since, for the last 5 decades, the world had been told that human brain works similarly to the concept of computer, and how information are stored and processed, as if billions of brain cells store 0 and 1s. The information processing, IP, metaphor of human intelligence now dominates human thinking, both on the street and in the sciences. There is virtually no form of discourse about intelligent human behavior that proceeds without employing this metaphor. Just as no form of discourse about intelligent human behavior could proceed in certain eras and cultures without reference to a spirit or deity. The validity of the IP metaphor in today's world is generally assumed without question. But the IP metaphor is, after all, just another metaphor, a story we tell to make sense of something we don't actually understand. And like all the metaphors that preceded it, it will certainly be cast aside at some point, either replaced by another metaphor or, in the end, replaced by actual knowledge. The faulty logic of the IP metaphor is easy enough to state. It is based on a faulty syllogism, one with 2 reasonable premises and a faulty conclusion. Premise number 1, all computers are capable of behaving intelligently. Premise number 2, all computers are information processors. Faulty conclusion, all entities that are capable of behaving intelligently are information processors. The idea that humans must be information processors just because computers are information processors is just plain silly. And when someday, the IP metaphor is finally abandoned, it will almost certainly be seen that way by historians, just as we now view the hydraulic and mechanical metaphors to be silly. To be continued in Part 3.